In this video, we're going to focus on how we can make a selection here and then highlight the specific item. So for example, if I select here Monday, what will happen is it will increase the value +1 and it will add up here this circular shape or this circle here to highlight what I've selected. So if I go here to Tuesday, then you can see Tuesday is increasing, and of course it shows us which one we selected. And we can do this of course also with Wednesday, and we can do it with everyone. So you might say, well, it keeps on increasing here. Don't worry, I have a separate video for that, because this here is going to focus only on this specific functionality to highlight and increase the specific item we selected. So how can we highlight the bar based on the selected vote in a poll chart? So what we're going to do here, first of all, is go to Chartjs3.com, getting started with this specific link here, because we're going to copy the default code. So I'm going to grab this code here. Once we copy this, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here. And this link is also in the description box, so you can easily find it down below the video. Alright, so once I paste that, cut out this title here, I'll just replace this title with the one I just copied, save, refresh. Alright, so now we have here a basic bar chart, and what we're going to do here is make a poll chart from this, or at least something very basic. It's just like a drop down here. Normally you should have like a radio button, but it's very similar structuring. Anyway, what we're going to do here now is just to create quickly this drop down, and of course you can do it also with a radio button. It's up to you. So I'm going to just say here a select, and then we're going to say this here, and then we say option. Oh, not the option group. I want just the option. It's fine. And then here we could say the value would be whatever the labels are. So I'm going to only make 3 items. So I say Monday, and here I will say the value equals Monday, identical to how it's written in here. This is very important, it must be identical. So then this will be Tuesday, and this will be Wednesday. Wednesday, Tuesday. Alright, so now we have this here. What I want to do here eventually is I want to give this an ID. Let's say this will be our vote. And well, with that we can start working on it. Later on we probably have to make a separate function to make sure that this will be connected to increase whatever selected value we have, or whatever value we have selected should increase the bar +1. So scroll down here, and then here we're going to use here a plugin. So after the options, comma, we're going to say plugin, and here I'm going to create a new plugin I'll call the highlight bar plugin. So I'll copy that. Then I'll say here this will be the plugin block, and then here we'll say constant highlight bar equals, and then here ID highlight bar, comma. And I will not explain this one really because we won't be using this. So basically you could ignore this one as well, but this has related to the options. So we won't be using this feature, so it doesn't matter so much for now. So what I want to do here is the drawing time, and the drawing time should be here, basically this. So what is a drawing time? We have to select here when would we like to draw the item, and the drawing time will be important. For example, here is the tooltip. You can see the drawing time of the tooltip is at the very end, meaning that the tooltip will be at the very top, while the data set here, or the bar, is behind the tooltip. And that's what we want. What we want to do here as well, we want a drawing time, but we don't want to be behind the bar. We want to be between the bar and the tooltip. So if we make a dot, and I'll make the dot here up, then I want to be just between here so that we are not overlapping the tooltip, because the tooltip has the highest priority, but it should be on top of the bar so we could clearly see it, and it will not be behind the bar at the background. So this is very important. So we're going to say here, because it's the bar, it's regarding to the data set. So we're going to say here, after data sets draw. So after all the data sets has been drawn, at that moment we want to draw our item. So we're going to say a chart. This is our chart object. And then what we're going to do now is what we call object destructuring. Sorry, that's the right term, because chart is an object, and in that object there consists of more objects. So I'm going to say here constant, and then here this, and then we say here chart. Make sure I do it like that. And then in here we're going to select the objects that are in the chart. Well, one of them is CTX, and I guess in this case we only need CTX, so we can save that. And what we really did was basically, normally you have to do chart.ctx, but now we don't have to do that. We can just say CTX, because it understands based on this that we're referring within the object here. Inside that object there's a CTX. And why do we need CTX? Well, CTX refers to the element of the canvas with this ID name. So we want to draw a circle in that specific element with that ID name. So that is the canvas itself. Alright, so once we have this, what we can do now is start to draw something. So I'm going to create here a arc, which is a circle. But to do this, first of all, I'm going to get a default constant, which is an angle. And this angle will be math.pi with capital I and P. And then we say here, divide by 180. So why are we doing this? Well, a circle consists of 2 pi. So half pi would mean a 180 degree of the circle, because a full circle is 360. So that's what this is very important. So now you have this. So the next thing what we want to do here then is start to draw the item. We say ctx dot begin path, and in the begin path you just leave it like that, and then we're going to say here ctx dot fill style, because we want to have it a color. So in this case I'll just make it just simple. I'll just select one of these colors here. On this case I'll just make it red here, and we could make a dynamic color. That is later on. It will be interesting to see as well. And then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to say here ctx dot arc, and in the arc we're going to insert specific values. One is the x coordinate, the other one is the y coordinate, and then we have here the radius. So the radius would indicate how big the circle will be. So in this case about 10 pixels, and 10 pixels is only half the size. So if you want to really understand arc and what I'm doing here, I would recommend you to watch my Canvas API series and then search specifically for the arc curves in arc video. That's very important. That's the one basically what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to say angle on a full circle. So I say start at 0 degrees, and then we do here comma angle for the ending part, which is 360. So we have a full circle, and then finally we will set here false for counterclockwise false. Once I did that, I'll say ctx dot close path, save that, and then refresh. So once I do this, alright, so let's see, there's something happening here, or maybe something that we don't want, is x is not defined, of course. This one here has not been defined yet. We need to define this. But before I even do that, I just want to show you at least that we have something working. It should be a circle. So if we save this, refresh. Alright, so now we have this here, and I realize that it didn't draw anything yet. Why? We need to say ctx dot fill to draw the shape. Because we have this here, we have the commands of the color, we have the shape size, but this is the official drawing command. So if I save this now, we have now an item here. Beautiful. So you can see here we need to figure out the x and y coordinates of this, which is basically the tooltip position here in the center. And that's what I want to grab. And of course you can do it anywhere you want. It's up to you. But in this case I'll just do it here. So how do we get this exact x and y coordinates here? Because if you look at it, where we are, we probably have to go a little bit more, maybe 75 pixels here. So there we are, and then let me just remove the tooltip here, because I know the tooltip is starting to distract us. So say your plugins. So say tooltip, display, enable. That's the one. Enable, false. Save that. Make sure you have a comma here. Save, refresh. All right. So no more distraction. So you can see here, this is the dot here that is showing up. So we could go here a little bit higher. So we have to go here higher in the y value, so maybe 30 pixels, basically this. So there you are. So that will be approximately. Of course you might say, well, this is far too hard, how can I do this for everyone? Well, don't worry about it. We're going to work on this right now. We're going to create here this dynamically. So first of all, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new console log, and in this console log I want to show you, or probably this is not even possible, I realize, because it's a special command. So we can say a constant x, this will be the x value, and the x value will be chart dot. This is a specific functionality built in Chart.js, so just follow along. So it's chart dot get data set meta, which is index 0, because we only have one index, and then dot data, and then here we have to put in the value. So let's say 0, and then we say dot x. This will give us the x coordinate of index 0 of the data, which would be the red one here. So if we do exactly the same, put it here on the y, We say this is y. Then I'm going to say here x and y. Save that, refresh. There we are. So this works. So if I would say here 1, save that, refresh, it moves here nicely to that one here. Alright, so let's start to do this one. Let's create this now, or let's start to look through this one. So how do we do this? Well, what we have to do here is basically this. We're going to connect it with these values here. So what I need to do here is to create an if statement. And this if statement should analyze if certain conditions are true. So I'm going to cut out everything else we have here, or cut this and move that in here. Paste that. And then we're going to look at this. And then what we're going to say here is the following. We have the if statement. So if what exactly? Remember here, I drop down here. Or if you would have a radio button, it would be based on the radio button. So if we select certain value here, maybe I'll just add another one here with a default value. And the default value has nothing. Let's say here, please select blank. Say refresh. Unexpected syntax error in 89. Alright, of course, because we are not done yet here. Alright, so what we're going to do here now is we have this already, so it doesn't matter really so much. We want to get here the ID of vote. And what we want to know is whatever the vote was. So I'm going to say here, if, let's say here, I guess we just have to do this one here. Let's see, how are we going to do that? We say here constant. And then we say here vote equals document dot get element by ID. So because what we want to do here is to get the ID name of vote. And once we have this, what I want to do then is to make sure the following. I guess we can copy this because we need to get the specific value out of it. So we're going to say here constant index. And how do we get this? Well, remember, we need to get here the specific value. Or let me just show you this one. Console log, that would make even more sense. And let's say here, if 1 equals 1. Alright, so this is not allowed, but I just leave it here. I don't want to have the error. So I refresh, there we are. So what I need to do here, we have this console log. Let me show you this. Alright. We have here this, that you can see here, it grabs the value here. Or it gets everything. But what I want to do is specifically the value. So I'm going to say dot value. Save that, refresh. It says now 0. And if I change it to Monday, and there you are, I guess it somehow loads. Alright, so Tuesday, and now we're doing here Monday. And there we are. Alright, so it works, but it doesn't work really fully, I noticed, because it's somehow loading only the moment I hover over the item, so we're going to check that later on. So, but that doesn't matter. Most important one here is, we have this here working. So what I want to do here, we have this, we have these values, and then we have to probably move that eventually inside here. Alright, well basically we don't have to move them down here, sorry about that, I was slightly getting confused. However, we have here basically the vote item, and this was confusing me as well, but let me explain why is this happening. When I hover over it, it works like this. Well, basically it is being updated because of the tooltip. When we hover over it, the tooltip basically is working, but the tooltip is now set on disabled, but it's not really disabled. What is really happening with the tooltip, it is transparent, so that's why it will show this here. However, don't worry about this, we're going to solve that later on. Most important one right now is just to figure out, can we get the right ID number or index number, and that's basically this one here. So if you have this Tuesday here selected, what I need to do now is in here figure out which index number it is. So how do we do that? Well, basically we can go from data to labels, and then here we can compare with the index of method. So let's do that one, and then after we can start to move and do something in here, and then after update the specific chart as well, but that will be later on. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say here, we're going to grab the chart, which is basically this object here, the chart.data, and then from the data I'm going to say here dot, and you can see here we go from chart to data dot labels. And if I copy this and put it in here, save that, refresh, you will see here we get all the details here. So what we need to do is we need to compare the index value with this, or the vote value with where, in which index it is. How we do that, we will look at the name, and the name must be identical. This is the reason why you need to be very precise here. If not, it will not work. So it's also caps lock sensitive or capital letter sensitive. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say chart data dot index of. So we say search in this array and look for a name, and the name was vote dot value, and it's give me the official position. So if we would have here the Tuesday, or wherever we select on here, it should show us the matching position afterwards. So let's save that one and then do a console log here. And what I want to do here is I'll just say here constant index equals this. Then I'll say copy this, put it in there, save that, refresh. Alright, so now of course here you see now -1 by default. Why? Because this is blank, so we cannot find anything, which is a good sign, because -1 means you cannot find anything, means that there will be no dots being created. But if I do Monday, and then if I hover over the trigger, you can see here 0. So we get now all the values we need. So I'm going to just remove everything here that is not necessary, or at least the index. Now I'm going to say here index. So if index equals or is, I guess, above or bigger or equal to 0. Remember, if we cannot find it, it will be -1. So if it's -1, in that case, don't do this. Then it makes sense. So we have this here. And then, let's save that and refresh. So if I have this one now on Monday, there you are, it worked. But if I do this now on please select, which is -1, then it doesn't show anymore. Alright, so that is the first part. So now we have this working, but what I want to here, of course, make this one, the data that we have here, matching with whatever we select here. So we get this index here, which is our index number. Put it in there, put it in there. Save that, refresh. Now I say Monday, go there. And then I say Tuesday, go there. And I say Wednesday, if I go here even, you can see here that works. So now it starts to work. We could do here also the color. To get the color, it's very similar to this chart. You can just here from chart to data sets, and then we say here the border color, maybe that we probably most applicable. So I'm going to say here this chart.data sets index 0. We only have one data set here, and then we say here border color. Then here the array number or index number will be this same value. So I save that, refresh, select here, there you are. Now it's blue, and finally it's yellow. Alright, so if I do this Monday and I go here, there. So now what we want to do, because now we have this done, I want to make sure that the value is being updated automatically and not that we hover over it, because this here doesn't make any sense. So to do this, because I've tried all kind of ways to combine it here together, there's an update, but that's not allowed. What happens, you get an infinite loop and it will keep on increasing and doing all kinds of stuff we don't want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new function, and this function will be the selected vote, and we're going up here and I'm going to say here in the selection or select tag, we're going to say here on change. In that case, what I'm going to do here is we're going to trigger the selected vote. So selected vote, exactly the same, and then you get here the value of this. This refers again very similar to all of this item here, very similar to what we did here. Then we need to get the vote.value. So what I'm going to say here is selected vote, I'll say here vote again, so it's very consistent. And then in here, basically I'm going to say the first one, which is to get again the index number. So I'm going to grab here to figure out to get this specific index number. I'm just going to copy this again, put it in here. So we can do this one here, and you might say this is not really good practice. It can be, but it's a block scope, so in this case it is allowed because it's within the block. This constant is being recognized, and this constant here is being recognized within this specific block or function. So this is very important. So, but if you want to avoid confusion, you could say your index number 2. It's up to you. Here, we're going to remove this. We're going to say, you know, it's my chart, because we're going to start here at my chart, then we go to data, labels, and from there on, we continue specifically to that item. So if I do now a console log here, let's say index, I save that. This is number 133, or that's the line. So if I do here something, we see here 133, we see here index 0. Alright, and if I do this, of course nothing happened yet. But now what I want to do here, I'm going to say my chart dot update, save that, refresh. There you are. There you are, and if I hover over it here, you will see nothing happens. It will not disappear suddenly. There we are. Alright, so we're not done yet, because when I selected it, I want to have a +1 value here. So let's do that one here as the final item. And I'm going to say here, you can just say here, my chart. And what we really want to do is this. I want to go here to my chart to get to the data, and whatever the data we selected, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those is the index, will be +1. So go back here, say here data, dot data sets index 0, and then dot data, and then I'm going to say here, what is this? Well, we're going to say here the index, and then we're going to say here dot, oh no, sorry, not dot, but we're going to say here equal the value of this, whatever the value would be, +1. Very straightforward. Semicolon here, save that, refresh. And now if I do this, +1, Monday has been now added to 19. So if I do here, Tuesday, well, let me add up the tooltip again. Say it true, save, refresh. So here, Tuesday has 12 values. Go on there, and there you are. You can see here also the tooltip will be on top. The point here will be between, and the bar here will be at the back, the very back. You can see now weekly sales is 13. If I do this again, you can see here this one will go up. Of course, basically you need to disable this, but if you want to do that, I have a special video for that, specifically for polling chart, where you can avoid the reselection of a value. But basically this is it, and if you want to really go deeper to what I did, but then you want to avoid that a person can select something or can unlimitedly select something, go to look at this specific one. Is how to use the local storage with interactions in Chart.js. This specific video will cover that nicely.